Have you ever heard that phrase, all business is good business, or there's no bad business? I strongly disagree. I'm Melissa Franks, your host, and this is the Opt-in podcast where we go from surviving to thriving in business. This week, we are talking about why you need to stop saying yes to bad revenue. We're going to talk about what bad revenue is. We are going to run through why you might be saying yes to bad revenue, even though you know you shouldn't. We're going to talk about the actual real cost of it inside of your business. And then we're going to go through a mechanism for how you can say no and also feel good about the outcome overall. Now, I too want to grow my business. I too have been in a place in my business where I had one client or I didn't have any clients and I was trying to figure out what to do next. So I understand that feeling of I just wish somebody willing to pay me for doing something would walk through the door. I get that feeling to my core. I understand it so deeply, and I will always, always, always get on the other side of the table with you and talk you through it and get you to the other side. With that said, there are disadvantages to saying yes to anything and everything that comes your way, especially when you start to have enough business to sustain or keep you afloat. So the hidden cost of bad revenue is something that we absolutely have to talk about in business, because this is something that I see a lot of small business owners do. Sometimes it's more prevalent in the professional services or coaching industries. It happens across the board. It happens with entering partnerships and the partnership not actually bearing the fruit that you expected. It happens with expanding into a new direction and not understanding the challenges that will come with that. There are all different types of bad revenue, and I want to talk to you about why you need to pay attention to this and put some filters on so that you can make better decisions about what work you do and who you do it with moving forward. So very, very early on in this business that I am in now, I really just wanted to get on my feet, right? Don't we all? We just want to get on our feet. And so any opportunity was a learning opportunity, and I was really grateful for the work. And with that said, I had an opportunity to work with a client. And at the very beginning, at the very first conversation, the client laid out 2 goals and objectives. And it was not possible to have both. You could have one or the other. That absolutely was true. Achieving both of them simultaneously, however, there wasn't a reality for which I could deliver reasonable work product that would get them closer to those goals. And we discussed it at the time. And I remember after having a conversation about it thinking, I'm not sure if what I just said actually sunk in. I'm not sure if there was understanding. I'm not sure if this is resolved or it's going to become an issue. And there was just this thing in the pit of my stomach where I thought, I wonder if this is going to be a problem. And eyes wide open, I went into it anyway. Eyes wide open, I said, I need the work. Eyes wide open, I said, I need to grow my experience in this space at any cost. That was not a good decision. Hindsight being 2020, the cash injection was not worth the challenges that presented and the frustrations on both sides. We ended up not working together about 7 months into the relationship because we had a candid conversation where I came back to that very basis and said, you have 2 goals and the 2 goals can't be achieved at the same time. And if you can't pick one, I can't help you. And that was frustrating for both of us. I wanted to be able to help deliver on the expectations that he had for his business. He wanted me to be able to provide what he was looking for. And really, I should have just not started the work to begin with unless we could get to a place where we really were specific around the goals and objectives that we had for the work. So this one I always take as an example because from the beginning, it took a lot of energy to do the work that was put in front of me. And it wasn't difficult work, but it took emotional energy. And from the very, very beginning, I always had this internal dialogue of, oh, this isn't going to move the needle. This is going to get us closer to where we want. And he was also frustrated too. It led to friction in the relationship. It led to me working on things that weren't really what I was intending to work on or what I was best suited for. And in the end, the amount of effort and lift that it took to move a fraction of the way towards one of the goals that we were working for, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. So one of the questions that I ask myself now in every conversation, whenever I meet a client for the first time and we are getting to the place of should we or shouldn't we move forward together, I ask the question of, can we help this client? Is this relationship going to yield benefit for everybody? Is the revenue generating activity that I need to do aligned with my core business? Or is it misaligned and it could potentially damage my reputation, the team's morale, my core business as a whole? Every single time I go through that filter and conversation, even though I have conversations often where I'm like, heck yes, I have to work with these people. I have to do these things. And so I want to talk to you today because one of the activities that we do for all of the businesses that we supported on Call COO is we understand the revenue pipeline and we interrogate that and determine if it's aligned with the business model or misaligned, and then we make decisions strategically about what to do and not to do, what to grow and what to retire based on these things. This is an actual action and activity that we do with all of our clients today. So while I shared one story with you where I knew better, it's always a joke around here that when I can't figure something out, somebody says, well, what would you say to your clients? And as soon as I'm asked that question, I'm like, oh, this is exactly what we need to do. Boy, that was really clear. So I had to go through that exercise myself. And I thought that because it's now become a part of our business model to do this exercise, it would be really great use of time in this podcast to talk you through it as well. As you are looking at expanding into other product categories, as you are looking to, acquire a business or sell off a part of your business, as you're looking to change your services or your offerings, as you're looking to serve different clients, expand into other physical locations, whatever it may be, the rules of the road here apply across all industries. That's what's really, really cool because we're all selling something and it just depends on what lens you're looking through. So the first thing that I want to talk about is bad revenue. And I've been kind of hinting at this as we've been having the conversation, but what bad revenue is, it's a revenue that is out of alignment. It drains your team, it breaks your processes, it's an exception to the rule of how you do business, or it puts you into relationships with the wrong partners or clients. It puts you into a situation where you're working with people that aren't aligned to your mission and your vision and your core values. It puts you into a situation where what you are delivering is not what you actually want to be known for. When you think about bad revenue, what you want to think about is what is the impact if I take on this transactional relationship. And you always want it to be positive. You want it to be that it grows your business, that it increases brand awareness, that it strengthens your reputation, that it lights you up and you have fun and your team has fun and you're super engaged and you're passionate and fulfilled with the work that you do. There's 1,000 different ways that you can assess that you're in alignment, that this opportunity to sell X to receive Y is in alignment with your business strategy, your culture, etc., etc., etc. When it's not, there can be dire consequences. When it's not, there can be irreparable harm. And I want to give you a couple of examples about how you know that what you're doing is not in the best interest of your business. And the first is that you absolutely dread the client or the project. You see the email come in and you're like, oh no, I think I need to go walk around the block before I respond. Or you see the phone number show up on your phone or the text come in and you're like, oh no, I need to prepare. This is not going to be good, right? Or you save it all for later. You have a series of things that you need to do or segments that you need to do or parts of your business that you need to work on if you have multiple streams of revenue in your business and you always save it for last. And you don't save it for last because you enjoy it so much you're going to get lost in it, but you save it for last because you dread being there. That's the first sign that the source of the revenue, it's, day old fish that wasn't put in the refrigerator. The second sign that the revenue is potentially bad is that it's taking more time and resources than it should. So we're all business people, whether we work for somebody else or we work for ourselves, and we understand the basics of pricing, and you want margin. So whether you're selling a good or a service, you build the pricing in such a way that your costs are always covered and there's some leftover. There's some margin. If you are in a situation where there is no margin or there's negative margin, it's actually costs you, the business, more to do the thing to get the revenue than you're getting in return, it's bad revenue. There's one exception to this, and it's if you intentionally have a loss leader in your business. Some businesses intentionally have activities or tasks or projects or services or products or whatever. Think about like a freebie at purchase where you're losing money on it. You're not recovering your money back. You spend $100 and we give you a free keychain. Nobody's paying you for the keychain, right? That's a loss leader. But the intention is that we're having you spend $100, so we're making so much margin on the other activity that it counteracts it. Loss leaders are good if they're strategically in place. Loss leaders are bad revenue if what you're selling consistently and over time is more expensive to fulfill than you're getting paid for. And this happens all of the time. It's also referred to is leakage in the business. You don't actually realize you're paying for more labor or more in shipping expense or more in overhead than you intended, and until you really look at all of the various pieces that go into the widget or the service, you don't realize that you're actually losing money when you sell it. And so that's one of the things that you want to look for as well. It's another sign that this is bad revenue. And then the third is that you are bypassing better opportunities because this is there. So if you dread it and the margins aren't great and you can't take on things that you're super passionate about and light you up because this thing is there, it might be bad revenue. Now, I have a big caveat for this because entrepreneurs they move at the speed of light. And they have shiny object syndrome and they are adrenaline junkies. And so sometimes this last one, the grass is always greener situation, can be misleading. Really what you want to make sure is if you are in your head saying, this is bad revenue, this is something I need to get out of long term because I can't take on these other opportunities, you better make sure that it has one of the other two dimensions as well. Are you dreading doing it and you're missing opportunities? Cool. Bad revenue. Are you spending more to fulfill than you're actually getting in revenue and you're missing better opportunities? Bad revenue. If it's just that you're kind of bored and you want to go do something else, or you just had this great idea and you want to chase it, it doesn't mean what you're doing right now is bad revenue. What it means is that you are an entrepreneur and you like to innovate. That's not bad, but it doesn't mean to stop doing what you're doing that's paying the bills just so you can go innovate. It means you need to do some other things inside of your business so that you can continue to make that money, because that's all good revenue. Because remember, you only had one, not two or three of the trifecta. And then you can find some ways and time to go innovate over here. So I just want to be very cautious that the missing better opportunities can be really misleading unless you are very, very, very much grounded in one of the other two signs as well. Now, the third thing that I want to talk about is why you're saying yes. And why logically saying yes feels safer. And it is safer. Let's be clear. If you have somebody standing in front of you willing to give you money for something that you are selling, saying yes and selling it is always the safer bet than saying no. I'm not going to be insane here and tell you that that is not the case. I could, and we could get woo, and we will in a minute, but that's not what I want to tell you. A bird in a hand, always worth more than two in a bush, okay? So if you want to say yes to every opportunity to get revenue, do it with eyes wide open and understand that in some cases, you're going to have these constraints, these breakdowns, and some struggles, and prepare your team, ensure that they're resilient to march through that fire with you, okay? Now, the reason that we say yes to everything to every dollar that shows up. The reason that we do that is because we're afraid that that's going to be the last dollar. We're afraid that there isn't anybody else in line. We are afraid that if we say no to this money, no more will come. Hello, scarcity mindset. Now, y'all, I'm not going to do this to you today because you did not come here for a mindset conversation. You came here to talk about revenue, and they're about as night and day as one could be. What I am going to tell you is that they actually are very related, and here's why. Once upon a time, I thought manifestation was nonsense. Once upon a time, I thought that you just had to hustle and grind and work and outperform, and sooner or later, the keys to the kingdom would come. The pot of gold would show up, your life would be set. Okay? That was what I thought. In fact, I led my entire corporate career that way. The whole thing. And then, I have a point, I promise. And then, when it was time for me to leave corporate, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew one thing. I was grossly underpaid. And when I am talking to you about grossly underpaid, I mean that exact same job at an identical company somewhere else, I would have been making 4 times the salary. 4, yes. Near $1 million, closer to $1 million than $100,000. The role that I was in, I was closer to 100 than a million. Okay? I was grossly underpaid. And so, as I began to think about my next opportunity, as I began to vision cast where I would go next, one of the things that I put into the head was the $1 million paycheck. In my head, I could see it clear as a bell. I could see the life that I had and where I lived and what things looked like. And you know what happened within months of me just looking at opportunity, believing that that was going to happen differently? Just in those few months, do you know what happened? I landed a job with a startup that was paying me without any bonus or commission or any of the things, just like literally cashing the check every 2 weeks. 30% more than I was making in my day job, all in, bonuses included. 30%. That had me moving towards it. And if I got all of the bonuses and the commissions and the whatever, that $1 million paycheck was a sure thing. Now, we stumbled. It wasn't the right opportunity, and that ended up not fleshing itself out. But you know where it landed me? It landed me into this position now where I just know. Do I know how to get there? No. I called a shot at the end of last year that would have me this year at a minimum 4xing last year's revenue to achieve. Did I know how to get there? No. Did I have the contracts in place? No. Did I have anything telling me that it was possible? No. Nothing. There were no indicators. But what I did have was my brain. What I did have was an abundance mindset. What I did have was certainty that the opportunity would come. And do you know what's really cool? The opportunities are coming. That person that called that shot at the end of 2024 was a solopreneur. Today, physically sitting in the seat that I am in as of June today. Yes, June 12th, 4 people working in my business, including me. That's 5. 6 months after I called the shot, I have a team, I have a company of 5 people and growing. I can see that shot that I called that was unimaginably difficult with no plan in place. And the only reason that I can see it is because I believe with all of my certainty that if I say yes to the right opportunities, it will come into fruition. Now, I promised I was not going to get all woo-woo with you, so I'm going to stop here. If you are saying yes to everything, it's because you have a scarcity mindset, and that will continue to limit your earning potential until you believe in yourself enough. You have confidence in what you are selling enough. You have clarity in who you are working with and what you are selling and who you are serving. Fill in the blanks to say no to bad opportunities so that you can say yes to the good ones. Okay? The second reason that saying yes will feel safer is because You want to be needed. You want some validation. I want to work with you. I like your products. I want to buy them. I want to go into a partnership with you. We all have egos. Spoiler alert. Everybody does. You can say you're as humble as can be, but in the end, you still want somebody to say, I want to work with you. I value you. The partnership isn't needed for me. So the second reason that you might say yes to things you should really say no to is because you want to be validated. And then here is maybe, if you're not living in the land of scarcity, this is what's happening. And I just spoke about it a second ago. So let's say you're like, I manifest every day. I'm abundant. All good things are going to come to me. Everything happens to me for a reason. I am so lucky. Everything is happening as intended. We can talk about affirmations all day long. All that's going for you. And yet you keep saying yes to bad things. You keep saying yes to revenue that drains you. You keep saying yes to opportunities that are misaligned to your core values. Well, that's because you're lacking clarity. It's because you don't actually know what you're selling. You don't actually have a clear understanding of who your offer, who your products, who your business is helping out in the world. When you don't have clarity, you will say yes to everything. When you don't have clarity, you will say yes to anything. When you do not have clarity, you will be as confused as the people that you are asking to buy. And when people are confused, they don't buy, which means that you get desperate. And when you get desperate, you feel like you're living in the land of scarcity. And when you live in the land of scarcity, you make decisions that you wouldn't be making if you were feeling abundant. It is a vicious cycle. So the very best thing that you can do if you've realized that you are saying yes to opportunities, to clients, to business models, to expansion ideas, when you should not, it's to stop and stay still and get clear and likely simplify. I am not going to talk to you about the importance of niching down. I am not going to talk to you about specialization. What I am going to say to you is being clear, being precise, being specific. You can, and we do here, so I will use myself as an example. We at On Call COO, we serve every industry currently except the government. Yeah, government contracts, just something we haven't gotten to yet. Not even 2 years old. Every other industry, done it, doing it, have expertise in it. What we do is specific. How we help and support businesses is specific. Our knowledge base, vast and expansive. We are clear on what we are and are not so that we can help as many people as possible with the right fit. You can do this in your business as well. You just need to sit still and be quiet and get clear. Now, bad revenue also has a cost, which seems crazy, right? Because revenue it's revenue. Right? So there's some tangible costs that come with saying yes to things when you should really be saying no. And one of them is refund requests. So when you say yes to the wrong clients, when you are selling to the wrong people, when you are offering your products to a market segment where they're not really applicable, your refund requests are going to go up. If you are saying yes to revenue that's misaligned with your core business model or is an exception to what you normally do, you have extra labor, so you're diminishing your margin or eliminating it completely. And then churn is the other one. When you say yes to bad revenue, you don't have retention. You don't see renewals. You are turning over clients. Now, it's possible that you have high churn because your model doesn't lend itself to repetition and stickiness in a long-term relationship. And if that's your business model, man, that's a hard one. However, if your business model is one and such, the buyers will come back and buy again, or renew, or continue their subscription, or whatever it might be. And this applies to everybody, whether you're SaaS or products or brick and mortar or hospitality. I could go on and on and on. If your churn is high and there's not a specific business strategy to have high churn, this is a sign that potentially you're saying yes or you're targeting incorrectly. And now there costs for revenue too. One of them is burnout. And I will say that you can actually measure this if you're having an issue retaining your employees. So if you have a high turnover from your employee basis, this is one way to measure burnout. So it kind of straddles between tangible and intangible, but burnout's intangible. And you know what it is. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but if your team is stretched really thin, if they are upset, if their morale is low, you might be saying yes to the wrong things or the wrong people in your business. Another one is brand dilution. So you impact your brand reputation and integrity over time. There's confusion about your business and what it is and what it isn't. There is a lack of positive reviews, referrals, recommendations. Another intangible, if you're taking on bad revenue, is that your vision gets diluted and the mission of the company gets diluted. And so overall, there's a misalignment between what you're looking to achieve and what's actually happening in your business. That will then actually create those tangible negative impacts to occur, which is a decrease in revenue, churn, extra labor to get things done, high employee turnover. They all go together, but in the end, a prolonged period of time where you're saying yes to anything will negatively impact your business. It will impact your viability to continue to grow. There was one business that we worked with that when their primary business started to contract, which had been doing quite well, the strategy was to introduce a new product offering. And theoretically that made sense. However, there wasn't a really strong understanding of what that fulfillment would look like. And what ended up happening is, while it did bring in revenue, so it did offset the contracting part of the business, what came out of that was so damaging to the business that needed to be cut off and pushed away and removed from the business model completely. It wasn't that it was in misalignment to the business model itself. It was just that the implementation of it was not equivalent to the experience that customers were having in the rest of the business. And so it was a spirit of misalignment, which diluted the brand, created reputational damage, and eventually had to be sectioned out to ensure that we could turn the business around. Now, of course, we were able to turn the business around, but it was only after identifying that if we were ever going to do market expansion again, if we were ever going to do product expansion again, that we had to do it intentionally. And we had to plan, and we had to do all of the things that needed to be done when the business was stood up to begin with. And that was a lesson that was learned because experts were brought in to help figure out what to do, to help turn around the business. That we excel at is overcoming plateaus and turning businesses around when they're in a slump. And often the theme that we see over and over and over again is this misalignment with long-term vision, this brand dilution, and what the symptoms are is that there's reputational harm out there. What the symptoms are is that you have really high churn. The symptoms are is that revenue's taken a massive decline and you can't figure out why. There's not one thing where you can oh, that's what we did. And over and over and over again, when we get inside of the business, what we realize is that the business is overcomplicated. And by simplifying the business and removing the parts that cost more than they're making, that are misaligned to the mission, that are not executed and implemented well, the business is, generally speaking, returned to profitability. So there's real cost when you start to say yes to anything, because it will end up damaging your business in the long term. While your bank account might go up for a minute, long term, it won't stay that way and maintain. Now, one of the things that's hardest is figuring out how to say no. And so we're going to wrap up today with just a couple of tactics for how you can say no. With us here at On Call COO, one of the things that we say very, very directly is who we are and what we serve. Everybody knows that we have two different ways that they can work with us. Anytime that they enter a consultation call with us, we're very clear about that. And we talk about what happens at each level. We're very clear about that. We also are very, very clear about what we can and can't do. And that's language that we use. What we can't do is X, what we can do is Y, right? So if you are realizing that the opportunity in front of you is one that you don't want to pursue, here are some tactics that you can employ. The first is that you are completely honest. Thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you, and this isn't a fit for how we best serve. Our core business will not be able to deliver you the results that you're looking for. I love to pair that with this next one, which is, we aren't the best fit for you, and the good news is that X, Y, and Z is. The good news is they can help you. The good news is these products are going to likely get you the results that you are looking for. In some cases, a good example of this is we've talked to some people that are in the healthcare space, and sometimes what happens in that space, both mental health and physical health, is there's a conversation around the results that you're looking for aren't results that we deliver, which is okay, because this licensed professional can deliver those for you. And that's exactly who you should talk to, and this is somebody we work with all the time, and we recommend that you go there. It's just that you're pointing them, and now that you understand the circumstances, you're pointing them in the right direction. The same is true for products. Somebody comes into, this is an example, a woman comes into a clothing store and you don't have clothing. She's a tall woman, she's over 6 feet tall, and you just don't have clothing in your store for her. That's okay. That's okay. That's just not the right store for her. There is a store 3 doors down, though, that has clothes that are built for a model that are never going to be the right clothes for me because, hello, I am 5'2", but for this beautiful woman that's 6 foot tall, that's the perfect place for her. It's okay. Just refer. And if all else fails, all you have to do is say that it falls outside of the scope of what we do. Nobody is going to be angry at you if you tell them directly that you would like nothing more than be able to help them and you're not the right fit. Nobody wants to waste their money. Nobody wants to buy a product from you that's not going to do what they hope that it does. They will respect and refer more people to you if you tell them no and why than if you tell them yes and they're disappointed. Saying no often unlocks growth in your business because it provides clarity to the marketplace about what you do, it provides clarity to you, it leaves room for opportunity, and those that you send on their way for whatever reason, whether you're a brick and mortar, product-based, service-based, etc. business, those that you politely decline to work with for whatever reason will understand the integrity for which you acted. And when somebody comes across them that could benefit from what you do, they will refer. It is how you put good business karma out into the world. It is okay to say no. It's also important to do it in a kind way and ideally with a recommendation on what to do instead. So I know this economy, we're all worried, we're all scared. The reality is that bad revenue is going to keep you busy. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes you're going to say yes to bad revenue sources because it's going to keep the lights on, or it's going to keep the team engaged, or you are feeling like you're living in a moment of scarcity. Aligned revenue is what will build your legacy. Aligned revenue is what will grow your business. Aligned revenue is what will have you sustain for years and years and years and years. So my invitation to you as we close out this podcast today is take a look at where you're getting all of your money from in your business today. Identify all of the revenue streams and figure out if any of those are bad revenue. Run through these filters and determine, does anything make me feel horrible? Is there anything here that I just don't want to do, that I want to lay down on the ground and just be run over by a truck if I have to do again? Start there. And the closer you can get to having a full suite of aligned revenue sources, the more profitable you're going to be, the greater margin you're going to be, and the more opportunity that's going to come your way. I hope that this was helpful to you, and please share this with other business leaders or business owners that you know that are in the midst of trying to figure out exactly what their revenue streams and sources should be and if they are the right ones. Until next time, friends, please know that you are wise and you are strong and you are capable, and I believe in you.